In the spirit of reconciliation, the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
Bryce, loving it. Might be the slowest person here, but absolutely loving it.
Oh, that's a great thing about these rides, right? Like, no drop, we're all here waiting for you, ready to go again. We'll give you a chance to catch your breath, maybe. But
That's it. But great group of guys. It's the girls. It's great. It's great day. Perfect views. Awesome.
Welcome to the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast. Gravel cycling in Australia is booming. From racing to bikepacking to simply getting off the beaten track and exploring the backroads and trails of our outstanding natural landscapes. This accessible subculture is all about community, adventure, and discovering or rediscovering the joy of life on two wheels. Join us as we celebrate Australia's gravel cycling scene and discover the locations, explore the events, and meet the people at the heart of the sport. So it's Sunday, the 26th of March, 7:38am. Usually rolling in from my Sunday morning rides at about this time, jumping in the shower, putting the coffee machine on, just before the kids get out of bed, but doing something a bit different this weekend. Currently in the car, I'm driving north out of the city out to Hurstbridge. Pretty excited about today. I'm going to be meeting up with the Northern Groadies. So the Northern Groadies is a growing club of gravel cyclists here in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, led by a guy called Matt Power. He's been doing some pretty cool stuff, trying to bring together communities of people who love riding gravel in a really inclusive way. He's very open about the fact that his rides are no-drop rides. Anyone is welcome. There's certainly no judgment about gear or kit, anything like that. It's just a monthly ride where people who love gravel can come together and ride their bike. So the rides are starting in Hurstbridge, and it's a pretty cool place to ride gravel, especially if you're in Melbourne. It's not too far away. It's stunning in terms of its terrain. It's quite hilly out there, so always offers up a challenge, but it's sort of one of those places that's just a stone's throw from the city, and it's sort of on the outer northeastern suburbs. And it's one of those places you can quickly escape to from the big city and suddenly feel like you're in the middle of the country. You could be, hours away from civilization, but you're really only half an hour drive from pretty much anywhere in Melbourne. So I'm heading out there now. It's a bit of a fresh morning for autumn, pretty typical. Clear skies, should warm up a bit later. Beautiful sunrise coming up over the Dandenongs out to my right-hand side. So yeah, the ride today, the terrain will vary month to month, but Matt's put together an interesting one today. He's calling it a 1-by or a 2-by, so it sort of involves two separate loops. So the first loop is 35 kilometres, about 600 metres of climbing. Sort of goes on a loop out north of Hurstbridge, wraps around and comes back to the station. There's then the option to continue on for a second loop, another 15 k's or so, a fair bit more climbing. I have some commitments later today, so I'm probably going to tap out after that first loop, but yeah, really excited to join in. So this is, obviously Matt advertises it as a gravel ride, but it certainly looks like it's going to be a fairly mixed terrain, a bit of everything, a bit of road. There's some really nice gravel roads out there around Hurstbridge, so we should get some sort of your classical Australian gravel in. But then also throwing in a bit of the bike path scene. So the Melbourne bike path network that we know and love does extend out to Hurstbridge, so there'll be a little bit of that in the route. And then I've been watching his videos on Instagram, and he certainly seems to like to throw in something a little bit oddball, whether it be a bit of single track or a little bit of cross country across some paddocks. We'll find out what he's got in store for us today. Really excited to meet some new faces today as well. I obviously met some people down at the Grey Dot Way Gravel Grind a few weeks ago, had a chat to them. But I think this is going to be a bit of a different scene. This is more a community-focused group ride rather than a race. Certainly not a race. So it might attract a slightly different crowd, some people with some different stories to tell. I'm really excited to meet them and to find out what's happening. So the ride's starting at 8:30 a.m. I think hopefully that's late enough that we don't have to contend with some kangaroos. I do tend to get out this way on a lot of my Sunday morning gravel rides. Don't quite get as far as Hurstbridge. It's a little bit too far for me to get to on my sort of 50-kilometre loops. But up around Eltham North and out through Ringwood North there and Park Orchard. So when I have come out this way, there's usually a few kangaroos to contend with. Always got to keep your eye out on those faster descents. So we'll try and avoid that today. Always a little bit treacherous. Haven't been riding much the last few weeks. The reason for that is mostly down to kindergarten. Let me explain. So I've just sent my 3-year-old off to kindergarten for the first time. She's never gone to daycare, so she's it's been a bit of a transition period for her off to kindergarten. It's been an exciting time. She's really loving it. But I guess what it has meant is that we're suddenly bringing all these bugs into our house, which we haven't had to contend with much before. I know this is a common story for any parents of young kids. They'll sympathise with me, I think. But I seem to be constantly unwell the last month ever since she started. So just sort of getting over the more recent respiratory virus that she's brought into the home. Hopefully that doesn't hold me back too much today. It's definitely been advertised as a no-drop ride, so hopefully that will. Hopefully that means I won't get left behind if my lungs can't keep up. But yeah, excited to venture a little bit further. The only time I've ever really ridden further afield than that was a loop that I did with my mate. It would have been over a year ago now, out around the Sugarloaf Reservoir there. That's some really stunning riding, some really tough climbs there as well. But some really nice gravel, and yeah, one of those ones again where you feel like it could be hours away from the big city, but you're really just a stone's throw. But yeah, definitely if you're looking for somewhere new to ride, and especially if you're coming off the road and looking for where you might be able to get a taste of the gravel, this area out in the northeast of Melbourne is a really, really great one. It really is a stunning morning out. It's a bit fresh. I've got the arm warmers on, the undershirt, and got my little gilet, but God, it looks like it's going to be a stunning day. One of those ones where you're sort of grateful that you get up early and think that everyone who's still in bed is really missing out on something today. So I'm not a big... I haven't been a big participant in group rides so far in my cycling journey. It's, as I sort of said before, I do try and get out super early, and it's sort of hard to find a group willing to ride at 5:30 a.m. in the morning and make sure they're all back by 7. I'm sure they're out there, a few dad groups, but yeah, this is something a bit different for me. So yeah, I'm a bit of a social introvert, so we'll see how I go meeting some new people. So yeah, I've been in contact with Matt a bit. He's jumped on Instagram and been in my DMs, and yeah, he seems like a lovely guy. I've never met him in person, but yeah, excited to catch up with him and hear a bit about his philosophy on gravel. So what I'm planning to do today is just, try and get some snippets of recordings, and then maybe I'll sit down with Matt later this week and have a bit of a chat about what he's trying to do with this community and this group, and see what his why is for running a bit of a community-focused gravel scene. I'm not entirely sure what his background in cycling is. I don't know if he's an ex-mountain biker or a roadie or a racer or anything. So, it'd be interesting to catch up with him. And he seems like a bit of a like-minded fellow, a lovely guy who's, really focused on community and what gravel cycling means to a lot of us as well.
All right, we made it out to Hurstbridge, and there's a big group gathering here for the Northern Groadies ride. Lots of people showing up. It's a few minutes to go, and people are still rolling in. Real variety of kit. We've got a guy here riding an absolute monster of a bike packing rig. It's he must have about 80mm tyres on it. It's awesome. Plenty of other canyon riders here, which is nice to see. Yeah, so getting ready to head off. I might try and grab some people along the way and see what they're doing today. So I'm here with one of the riders this morning. Can you tell us your name and tell me a bit about this bike that you're riding? It looks a bit of a monster.
My name is Victor. I've got a Salsa Black Barrow. This one is a cargo fat bike, mid-tail fat bike that is. Yeah, it's a 2019 models. It's quite a rarity, this one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not something I've seen before. You just tell me 3.8-inch tyres on there?
yeah. 27.5 by 3.8. Yeah, quite a heavy beast. About 18 kg empty. But yeah.
Yeah, 18 kg seems not too bad actually, looking at the size of this. We'll have to get a photo and pop it up on our Instagram page. What gearing do you need to get this up the hills?
It's got a 30 tooth chain ring and 10 to 50 cassette at the back. It's running a mullet rifle front and Eagle GX-XS at the back.
Lovely. Well, enjoy your ride today.
Great, thanks.
So we've got Aidan here from Cycles for Awareness. Nice to see you down here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Glad to come. Finally jump on a mountain bike for a change.
Yeah, you've been pushing the road bikes on the raffles. That Envy up for grabs soon?
Yeah, it's getting drawn next Friday. I think there's only under 100 tickets left in that 1,000, so 1 in 1,000 chance. And yeah, someone's going to get a pretty mean build.
Yeah, it looks like quite the prize. I was a bit disappointed I missed out on the giant TCR in the last run, but we'll see how we go this time. You got a gravel bike coming up on the raffle soon?
We actually do. So the next one's going to be a tour to Europe. With St. Cloud setting up the bikes basically for them. And then we've got a curve gravel bike that's coming as well, similar to the Envy, so a good little build-up coming for that one as well.
Oh, the curve will be popular, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And trip to Europe sounds pretty good too. Yeah. So you ride a bit of gravel yourself?
Yeah, starting to get into it. My wife, Ebru, rides a lot more than I do. She's trying to drag me out on it more, so yeah, just sort of transitioning a little bit from the road to gravel.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common story. Yeah. Well, thanks. We'll have a good ride today.
Thanks, man. You too.
So yeah, it is a no-drop ride. So by all means, if you want to race uphill, go for it. Just wait at the top. Now that the group is pretty big, we'll be taking it easy, going down to set stuff. Give everyone a bit of space. Try not to bunch up. There's some loose, sketchy downhill turns and corners and stuff. So yeah, apart from that, do it.
Oh, geez, we're only 3Ks in, but that was a tough little kicker up to the end of that gravel section. There's a few people up here grabbing their breath. I think everyone bar a few of the 40 or so people here had to get off and push off that last section. I think I pushed a little hard. Oh, still trying to get the heart rate down. If that's the sign of things to come, we're in for a big day. All right, so we just stopped to regroup at the top of one of these hills. Found a few riders here. Can you tell us your name and why you decided to come out today?
Oh, well, my name is Sophie, and James and I, I think Matt, James and I, we were the first to start off. Like, Matt is the, the host, and he usually organizes these groups, so yeah, we usually come every month.
Yeah, okay. So whereabouts are you from?
Berlin.
And you live out here in Australia?
Yeah, I'm a resident.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So how long have you been doing these Northern Groadies rides then?
James, when was the first? 12 months? Yeah, 1.5 years ago. Yeah, so that must be, I think, 12, 14 months ago.
Yeah, excellent. Seems to be growing pretty rapidly now, though.
Yeah.
It used to be quite a small ride?
I know, it used to be, but it has been picking up. And I guess, he's very well connected now via Instagram and then also Facebook.
Yeah, he's got a pretty strong Instagram game. I've been following along.
So that's growing, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And usually the weather is nice, so it hasn't been raining yet, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, touch wood. Yeah. Excellent, thanks very much. How's it going? Yeah, you don't get out in the northeast without a few hills, do you?
Well, I just haven't been brave to try them yet.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started riding, I was just on the bike path loops and got in contact with a mate who was doing this sort of stuff. And it's like, I'll come out. He's been riding mountain bikes his whole life.
Yeah.
Just I started going out there, just cream me up every hill.
Yeah.
It creams me on the downhills too. Yeah. Some lovely views of the city. Over on our right hand side, I stopped to take a picture and now I'm way off the back. Alright, time to catch up. I've been hearing a bit about Cirque. It looks like a nice bike.
I'm the circuit owner, so.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, Matt was telling me I should chat to you. Some dog walkers out on a Sunday morning. Morning. Does Cirque do road as well, or just gravel?
Road. This is our road, all road bike.
Oh, yeah.
So we have one gravel bike, and all road, and a pure road bike.
Just sort of a sliding scale towards more stability, and yeah, I've been trying to work out what the ideal geometry is. This is the first gravel bike I've had. Yeah. I like it, it's good. Sometimes it feels a bit long on the road, but then you take it certain places and it still feels a bit unstable, so it's like, yeah, it's a hard balance, isn't it? Sort of need two gravel bikes, one at each end of the spectrum. Glad someone knows where we're going. I'm a bit of a criminal for relying on others when it comes to directions. Beautiful little gravel track here. Past some horses. Through the trees. Real sort of edge of suburbia here. Some beautiful estates. Definite horse country, but at the same time you feel like you could, yeah, really be in the middle of nowhere, anywhere in sort of rural Australia. Definitely rolling terrain. Had a few steep little kickers already. Again, taking it nice and easy on the downs. Had enough offs recently to teach me a lesson about that. No sign of any roos yet either, which is, I think that's a good thing. The problem with that is if you don't see them, they could jump out and take you out. Oh, single track time. That's more walking track than single track, I think. This is the sort of thing that gets me undone. Oh, dodge the horse poo. Oh, here we go, we're caught up with the group. All right, we've just stopped to wait up for everyone. Got our a rider here. Can you tell us your name? How are you enjoying the day?
Bryce, loving it. Might be the slowest person here, but absolutely loving it.
Oh, that's a great thing about these rides, right? Like, no drop. We're all here waiting for you, ready to go again. We'll give you a chance to catch your breath, maybe. But...
That's it. But no, great group of guys. It's girls. It's great. It's great day. Perfect views. Yeah, awesome.
You've been riding for long?
About 7 months. So I did the GOG in Feb.
Oh, very good. I was down there as well.
And it almost killed me, but I got through it. And loving it.
It's a big climb on that GOG. Well done.
It certainly is.
And you're riding the Canyon Grizzle. There's a few here, the mustard canyons.
It is, yeah.
You love the bike?
Love it. Fantastic. Super light. Yeah, workhorse.
Very good. Fellow canyon rider.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good work today. We'll see you at the end.
Yeah.
Bit of a scoop just come through on the group ride there. Our leader, Matt Powers, just admitted he's named his son Max Power.
It makes that day. It's like, you know what, that's awesome.
We're going to have to move that down.
Like, what's he going to get picked on for? Being awesome.
It'll never be forgotten.
Is this Crown Land, or is this just... Easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission? Oh, jump off, yeah. Of which I have none. Problem with taking this up as an adult, you don't learn those skills. It's a bit like North American conifer forest. I love the GRX, like 2x, but your bottom gears are 30, 34, so it's pretty low. You can really spin, but you still get that advantage of 2x, I think. Like, it's pretty hard to max it out at the top, especially on gravel. Like 46.11 is the top gear, and you still get the cadence options of 2x as well. So yeah, I think it's great. I've never tried 1x, saying that. So that's just a few sound bites from the day. I had a great day out meeting a lot of great people, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed some of that audio just to bring you a snippet of what it's like to head out on one of these gravel group rides. So I didn't get a chance to chat much to Matt at the end of the ride there. He's obviously busy running the group, but I was really keen to hear a bit more about his background and what he was trying to get out of this Northern Groadies group. So I got in contact with him again and managed to catch up with him a few days later. So I'll bring you that chat now. So g'day, Matt. It was great to meet you at the ride last week. Really appreciate you giving up some extra time to come on the pod.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Tristan. Great turnout last ride we had. I think we had about 35, 36 people. So yeah, it's starting to pick up a bit of momentum and get some really good groups together. Yeah,
it was certainly a popular one. Don't think I've ever seen a gravel group so big.
Yeah, well, yeah, it hasn't always been like that. We started back in 2021, about mid-2021, and I think for the first probably COVID being a condition when we started, there's probably 12 or so rides that we probably had less than 10 on, I reckon. Sometimes it was just me and one other person or me and a couple other people. But I think you probably know yourself when you're riding with someone. Doesn't matter if you really don't know them, you've always got common ground in terms of cycling, and mostly that leads to some other talking point, so you can pretty much hold a conversation for a good 3-hour ride kind of thing. So
yeah, it's a great thing about the bike, isn't it? When you're on a ride, you know you're sharing something that you both love. I've cut together a bit of audio from the day, which we've heard on the pod already. I just wanted to get you on so we could delve a bit deeper into the Northern Groadies and sort of hear a bit of the backstory. Before we dive too deep into that, though, can you tell us a bit about your background in cycling? I couldn't help but notice out there on Sunday that you're a pretty talented bike handler. So I saw plenty of bunny hops and skids. I'm guessing you're a bit of a mountain biker.
Pretty much. I mean, grew up in Hurstbridge, so we're pretty spoiled for choice in terms of any kind of cycling out that way. But yeah, spent most of my teenage years riding mountain bikes with mates after school into TAFE, and then kind of up until I was probably mid-20s, I reckon. Did a bit of road cycling mixed in there as well, out to Strathewen, out to the Apple Shed, which is a pretty iconic strip of kind of country road cycling space. So that was always kind of in the background. But yeah, I only really got on a gravel bike probably, when was it? When I moved back into Hurstbridge in the start of 2021. And I mean, yeah, as you can see, there's so much gravel out that way. You get the quieter roads, you get a lot more nature, a lot more scenery, and kind of ties into my early biking history of sitting on a mountain bike for most of my childhood. So you get a bit of both. You get a bit of the road, cover the distance, but you also get a bit of fun on the side.
You're still mountain biking today, or you've sort of given that up now?
I've actually kind of got into it a little bit more for two reasons. My eldest son's starting to want to go out on single track and get involved in that side of things, and then I've also started kind of getting back into it for my own pleasure. I've joined a couple of Fixo's hops, which he runs on Wednesday nights, so that's a pretty cool scene. Again, similar to the Groadies, just everyone kind of turns up, has a good time. Yeah, it's just a really good vibe, really. Yeah, so dusted off the old Giant Anthem, which I think is probably about 12 years old now. The first ride was a bit sketchy. Hadn't really ridden it for probably 3 or 4 years properly. Again, just good fun, good people. A lot of people that I used to ride with kind of 8, 9 years ago, come on the same ride, and you haven't spoken to them for 8 or 9 years, and you start up the conversation like you never missed a beat kind of thing. So
sounds like great fun.
Yes.
I wonder if there's something in that, like people getting on gravel, and then obviously you've got a background in mountain biking, but I'm guessing there's plenty of people who are getting on gravel as sort of their entry into cycling, and then sort of enjoying the off-road aspects of it, and then dipping their toes into mountain biking as sort of a next step. So do you see any of those people around Hurstbridge?
Yeah, well, I mean, gravel's kind of it's a niche in itself, because it does span, as you say, from people who have come off a road bike and maybe are getting over the traffic and the idiots out on the road that you kind of come across every now and then, back to people who are on a mountain bike, but they want to cover more kilometres, or they want to see more, see more stuff. So I've noticed with the Groadies, you get a lot of people coming from the road bike side of things, and they don't have the same kind of bike handling skills as what you get from people who come from mountain biking into gravel. But as you said, you also get the people that are coming from nothing into gravel, and they might have been riding the first bike might have been a cheap mountain bike that they just rode on bike paths. But they're now seeing that the next step into that is, I can do the same thing, but heaps faster and more efficient on a gravel bike. And a lot of the Groadies rides that we do, we might do some that are full-on gravel roads. As you saw on the last Groadies ride, you might get some that have got a bit of single track mixed in. And that's the great thing about gravel bikes. You can pretty much do anything you want with them to a limit. Like, you're not going to go down techie single track, but you can do road, you can do bike paths, you can do gravel roads, you can do single track. There's really not a whole lot that it can't do.
Yeah, it's a great sort of one bike solution for a lot of people.
Yeah. There's always N+1 though, so I don't think you ever get rid of it.
Yeah, I think the appeal's always there, isn't it? You're like, oh, where could I go next?
That's it.
So let's go right back to the start again. You mentioned that the Northern Groadies have been on since 2021. How did it get started? Like, was this an idea that you had and you just sort of went with it?
It was a fairly selfish reason to begin with, to be honest. My wife was pregnant with our third child, and I pretty much just said, I want at least one day a week where I can get, one day a month where I can get a decent ride in. So I started kind of booking that a month ahead, planning the route, telling her I'll probably be gone for 3 to 4 hours kind of thing on this day. She was still working shifts, so we planned it around that. And then as I started doing them, a couple of mates were like, hey, I'm not doing anything that day. How about I come along? And then I was like, well, yeah, that sounds great. Bring your mates. Meet at the same spot every time, and whoever can make it, can make it. And it's kind of just grown fairly organically from there. There's just so much collaboration that happens on Instagram, and I'm sure you've seen a fair bit of it when you've started this podcast. Reaching out to someone, or even just posting stuff, and people are like, hey, I know that road, or hey, I'm not doing anything that day. How about I come along? And now, as I said, we started with rides that might have had, or some of them had 1 or 2 people, to stuff that we're doing now that's got 35 people coming up. Yeah, it's great. Great vibes. No one's really, everyone's helping each other out. You saw on in the last one, people dropping back, helping people with mechanicals, saying, how about we split the group so we've got more of a spread on the ride and stuff like that. So just, really, really collaborative, and everyone's there to help and having a good time, enjoying the day.
Yeah, it seems like a really community sort of focused ride, which is really good. I wanted to ask you, having now gone on the ride, about that no drop sort of ethos that you have with such a big group. Like, that's quite hard to manage, right? Like, it's sort of hard to keep the group together. And why have that sort of no drop ethos? Is that a really important part of the ride for you?
I think it's just about trying to encourage people to get out there. If you want to, as I say in some of the pre-ride briefings, if you want to smash it up a hill, go for it. But when you get there, just stop at the top, enjoy the view, have a chat to whoever's raced up with you, and then we'll regroup and keep going. Last month's ride was a bit of a learning curve. We hadn't had numbers like that before. And previously, even when we'd had kind of 20 or so people, they'd all been fairly comparable in terms of their pace and their ability and whatever. So, and again, the last month's ride was kind of targeted as trying to get more people in, the way that it was broken up into kind of 2 routes kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we all got around in the end. Everyone was helping out. Some people dropped out early because they couldn't get around, but everyone knew where everyone was most of the time. So again, it's that kind of all in it together kind of mentality. Yeah, so we'll try something slightly different this month, but we're still going to try and have 2 loops to try and get those people that can't do the 55 kind of 1,500 metres of climbing in a ride yet. But yeah, just trying to build that community and get people out on the bikes and see some really nice scenery. And it's not so far from Melbourne that you have to travel an hour and a half, 2 hours before you get there kind of thing. So I think it's a really good, and I suppose when the public transport's back up and running, it's fairly convenient for most people to get out there.
Yeah, great. I wanted to ask you a bit more about, I guess, your motivations. You said there that it was sort of selfishly motivated to begin with. You were sort of looking for people to ride with. But I guess I'm interested because a lot of group rides are often organised by bike shops or bike brands. And like, I've got no doubt that they are trying to build community, but you can also sort of see the benefits in it for them as a business. But like, you're just a normal guy. So why bother put in like all this effort to try and, build these routes for people, get them to come out? Like, you could just, you've got 1 day a month to go riding. You could just go and hammer it as hard as you want with a couple of mates. Like, yeah, I guess what's the appeal of bringing all these people together and putting in all this work?
Yeah, I mean, it's become a bit of it's obviously a hobby. Cycling's a hobby. I'm a fairly social person to start with, so just being able to share that experience and kind of my experience with other people, that's probably the main part of it. As you said, I'm not a commercial entity or anything. I'm not making any money out of this or anything. But just being able to build a community, there's not much more than that really. Just trying to get people involved.
Good on you. I think it's great, and you're sort of providing a space for people to get into it. Because I think I mentioned this with some of my other guests, but often when you first get into gravel, and it could be hard to know where to ride. Like, how do you build a route like that? There is a fair bit of local knowledge involved in trying to work out where to go. So just having you build those rides and people can come along knowing they're not going to get stuck or not going to get lost and really get into it. I think it's a great thing that you're doing to help build the gravel community. So well done.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate.
You mentioned to me early on before I came along to the ride, just as we were chatting, that mental health was a big part of why you got the Groadies up and going. Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast today, actually, the Imperfects, and they were talking about the benefits of exercise for mental health and doing it in a community setting as well. And I couldn't help but reflect on how I feel about cycling in that space. Do you have a story about that, or do you have anything to add on the mental health aspects of group cycling?
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe space most of the time. As I said before, it doesn't matter who you're riding with. You can pretty much hold a conversation with them because you've had similar experiences, you've got similar interests. And I think just being able to talk to someone, even if it's in a brief kind of instance, rolling down a hill or whatever, it puts a whole different perspective on, I suppose, what's important, and puts things into a different perspective. Exercise is a great mental health way of dealing with mental health issues. A lot of the time, if someone's going through something like that, they might not even need to tell you, but just being out on a bike ride with someone, being able to chat about not necessarily the issues they're facing, but just being able to chat is kind of a great tool to be dealing with that kind of thing. So I've tried to on some of the rides, like I think last November I was raising money for Movember, so it was great to see. I put a couple of posts up on my Instagram, and the response that you get from people when you are raising money for Movember, or I think the previous year I did some stuff with the Knights of Suburbia. They had a Love Me, Love You foundation or something that was going on. And you get people who haven't even been out on a Groadies ride donating to you, people you've never met donating money to you to support mental health, which just kind of shows the kind of community that we're trying to build. Yeah, if I can use Groadies as a little bit of a tool to raise awareness, and like the guys from Cycles for Awareness was kind of, they came along on last month's ride and they were handing out socks and stuff. But again, there's so many people working on a common towards a common goal to try and support mental health, and so many different foundations that are doing it now. So yeah, I mean, the more awareness and the more kind of safe spaces we can have to get people talking and realise that they're not struggling through stuff alone is probably pretty important to me, yeah.
I think group cycling's definitely got a unique ability to get people to talk to strangers. As you said, it's you've got that common ground there. But I've heard it discussed before, and I thought it was a really good point that when you're riding in a group, even if you're riding with strangers, you're not, because you're like looking at the road ahead, you're not forced to look people in the eye. And that can be just a real leveler in terms of people feel more comfortable to open up because they're shoulder to shoulder with someone rather than sort of sitting down and looking them in the eye, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, might be part of the secret for cycling.
Yeah. And I suppose, not being such a formal environment as well. Like, as you said, you're out doing something that you like doing with other people that like doing it at the same time. So everyone's in a good mood generally, unless you're going up a hill. Can't be a bad thing.
So we've talked a little bit about the routes that you design for these rides. Have you got a sort of an ethos on what you're trying to do when you're putting together those routes, or is it just sort of, oh, this looks a bit fun, I'll see what's over there and see if we can challenge people with a bit of sort of light single track in there in the middle and chuck in some hills and then call it done?
I think we've done the same route once, and we might be doing a similar one the end of this month. But yeah, generally, I mean, as I said, there's so much gravel out from Hurstbridge, whether you're going up to Yan Yan Reservoir, you're going up to King Lake, you're going out to Sugarloaf. There's hundreds of dirt roads and fire trails and single track and pretty much whatever you want from here to all of those places. I've got a couple of favourite roads mixed in there. So we try and you'll see one of them on most of the routes. But really, it's just, I always say to people when they're on the ride, there's so many bloody hills. I'm like, if you've been to Hurstbridge, you're pretty much at the bottom of the valley. So you can't really do much without going. Once you get over 35, 40 Ks, you're over 1,000 metres of climbing. Doesn't matter which way you go, unless you're going back into the city where there's not much gravel, you can't do much better than that. So, I mean, we've done some pretty big ones. We've done some rides up to King Lake that have been like 68 and 17, 1,800 metres of climbing, which were big days. I'm kind of shying away from them now just because of the numbers of people that we're getting. And again, depending on who comes, most people wouldn't be up for that. So I've kind of cut it back, but still doing pretty solid numbers at the end of the day when you're talking about a 50k ride, kind of 50 to 60k ride with over 1,000 metres most of the time.
Yeah, it's still a challenging day out, isn't it?
That's it. And as you can see, there's some pretty pinchy bits in most of them as well. So you get up to, if we go up Barrynong, you're up at like 23, 24%, trying to get up there. We came down it on the ride that you came on. It's pretty much like free falling out of a plane on your bike.
I think I was gripping the brakes pretty hard coming down that section.
Yeah, but yeah, some of the early ones I'd used some of the Groadies rides and the groups as guinea pigs, but most of them now we've pretty much covered all the tracks that we're going on. So there's bit of there's always local knowledge thrown in there, but now we're kind of covering old ground at least on some of the tracks.
So you've won the gravel road bingo around Hurstbridge. You've collected them all.
That's it. Yeah, it's a good spot to be based out in Hurstbridge for any kind of gravel.
Very good. You certainly get some interesting people coming along. I had some great chats with a few people out there, and we hear some of those a bit earlier in the pod today. But one guy I was talking to, I think you mentioned before the day that I should catch up with him for a podcast, is Shannon from Cirque. Yeah, he was great. I sort of rode up to him and started asking him about his bike, and then he's like, "Oh, I actually own the company." So I was like, "Oh, that's a good place to start." But he was lovely, and met some really cool people.
Yeah, so me and Shannon and Stefan. So Stefan's the Australian rep for Cirque. We've kind of been chatting for the last 2 years on and off over Instagram. I think, again, just commenting on one of their bikes that I saw a couple of years ago over Instagram, and Stefan was like, "Hey, we're at I think it was a month later or something, hey, we're at the Handmade Bicycle show. Do you want to come down and have a look at the bikes in person?" I was like, "Of course I do." Friday night, I think you sent the message at about 4:30 Friday afternoon. I was like, "Yep, let's do it." Yeah, they produce some amazing titanium bikes, and when you look at the detailing that Cirque do compared to a lot of the other brands that are out there, and I don't know whether Shannon told you the backstory of the company, but just the technology and stuff that goes into titanium bikes these days is pretty amazing. And the finish and the detailing and the custom paint jobs that they provide are, super nice. Definitely on my bike wish list at the moment, but just need the funds in the bank, I think, and the approval from the CFO.
Yeah, I think we all have the same challenges to overcome. So as you said, it's been growing pretty rapidly. Have you got any plans in place to try and help manage those numbers? I think on the last ride, we sort of ended up splitting into sort of a fast and slow group. Is that something you think you might keep going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably the way to go. As I said, trying a different format for the end of the month ride for April. Still starting at the same time, same place, but there'll be 2 routes. I think one ends up being about 60-something Ks, which literally just kind of veers off, does a bit more, comes back and joins the same route as the shorter one. Same again. So there's 3 points where it kind of goes up a different route and then switches back with the aim to kind of, at least at some points, have the people that are doing the longer route, the faster route, joining up with the others at some point and then veering off again. So again, just a learning curve. We're just trying to figure out what works best. I still want to start everyone at the start at the same time. Just because of that community, like at least you're kind of riding off with a whole group of people. Again, we might get to the top of the first climb and realise that it's not going to be achievable to keep everyone at the same pace. So yeah, I think there's a couple of regulars that pretty much show up to every ride, so we might just have to ask them if they can take a certain group, depending on if they're in the fast bunch or the slower bunch. So yeah, we'll just keep on working on it. No drop is the idea, but a lot of the guys, if they really want to come out and they know that they're not going to make it the same pace as everyone else, a couple of guys have sent me messages before the ride saying, "Hey, don't feel like you have to wait for me. You just kind of I'll take my time, and I've got the route, and I might see you at the end when you're grabbing a coffee or a bite to eat."
Great. Well, Matt, really impressed with what you're doing there at the Northern Groadies. I think it's a real benefit to the gravel community here in Melbourne. And yeah, if anyone's listening and is keen to get involved, would definitely recommend giving Matt and the Northern Groadies a follow on Instagram. Join the Strava Club. I think you've got over 400, maybe 500 members now.
Yeah, well, it's jumped up quite a bit in the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks. We're at 467. I'm just looking at it on Strava. It's getting pretty big. So yeah, keep growing, keep putting these rides together, and then always open for suggestions from the members or routes they want to do or roads they haven't been on, or even if something like jump on the Groadies Strava group or flick me an email, message on Instagram. If you want to do something, or if you're riding out there, chuck it on the Strava and someone else will probably join you. Again, just the community. There's always people looking for rides, so it's a good forum to put whatever you're doing up on the weekend, chuck it up there and get some other people involved.
Yeah, good place to share our love of gravel cycling.
That's it.
Well, hopefully you can continue to grow the community and we can get some more people down there for the ride in April. Have you got the details there if people want to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So always starts at the rear car park at the Hurstbridge train station. The next ride's on 29th of April, roll out at 8:30. So yeah, get there a little bit earlier, have a chat to all the guys, get a coffee. There's great coffee in Hurstbridge. Smash out the ride and come back and have another coffee or a bite to eat at some of the cafes in Hursty.
Thanks very much to Matt and the Northern Groadies for hosting us for this episode of the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast. As I said to Matt there at the end, I think it's amazing really what he's doing for the gravel community, all off his own bat, completely voluntary. Yeah, really impressed with what he's providing the gravel community, and would encourage everyone who might be interested in joining a gravel ride to head along to one of the Northern Groadies rides out at Hurstbridge. So thanks for tuning in to this episode. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at the Gravel Cycling Oz Podcast, or send us an email at thegravelcyclingpodcast@gmail.com. Continue to really enjoy having that interaction with you guys on those forums. And just before we go, just wanted to give a huge shout out to those who have become supporters of the show. It's really humbling that people have put some hard-earned cash up to support the show to meet and cover our costs. So yeah, really appreciate that. And if you are interested in supporting the show, there's a link there in the description. Would really value anything that you are able to provide. So thanks very much, and that's it for this episode, and we'll catch you next time on the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast.